Welcome back, family. You are listening to the Male to Man podcast. I'm your host, Curtis Phillips. As you can see, today this is a solo episode. So y'all know on solo episodes, we get vulnerable. Sit back and enjoy and just talk to me. All right, today we are talking about anxiety during the wait. Anxiety during the wait. It's another one where I have my journal with me to gather my thoughts. Solo episodes are not easy. It's always easier bouncing back and forth ideas, but when it's me and a camera and I'm just talking as an introverted guy, it's always a little bit tougher. So I have my journal with me to just gather kind of what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling. Anxiety during the wait is coming from, I'm in the season of my life of a big pivot. For the last 4 years, I was working at a Fortune 100 company. One of the biggest, I know, top 3 biggest companies in Memphis. And near the start of the year, I really got the urge to pivot, start this podcast. It was a lot of, I would be feeling inadequate. Was making good money. I was in a leadership position, but I felt stuck. I felt like, man, is this all that my life is going to be? Coming in every day, essentially punching the clock, going home, like going in and really not liking your job. And I felt convicted, I guilty, maybe not convicted, but guilty about that because this is the job that God blessed me with. This is a job that I prayed for. This is a job that I heard the Lord. So how dare I feel like it's not enough? How dare I feel like, how dare I feel ungrateful? And so I battle with that a lot. When I got married, things changed. So I worked overnight, and as soon as I got married, I realized, like, I don't want my wife at home while I'm not there. I did not feel comfortable. I don't want to be able to not protect my wife. If I have a kid, I don't want to be on the road or at work and something happened. And so I was praying, Lord, Lord, I need to find something else, Lord. Like, I'm making good money, I'm comfortable, but this ain't, I need something different because first of all, I'm capped. Like, I can't make more money, really. Like, yeah, we got a bonus every year, maybe. But your boss and that, they can mess with all that. And some days we don't get it. It's always something happening that we might not get it. Um, and I didn't like that. Having an entrepreneurial mind, I didn't like that. But I was praying because it's like, God, this is what I really want to do, but it's a blessing. And at that time, I didn't know what I want to do, but I'm like, Lord, help me get some more days. Help me get something so I can be at home. Give me a little bit more time to kind of figure out what I want to do. At the time, I was coaching, so more time to coach, and I could sleep, so I won't be so dysregulated. I felt like, and not too long after that, I think the Lord made it real to me that, okay, you can do this podcast. But I was just like, okay, it's an idea. I can do it. I had seen it being done by my homeboy O. Shout out, y'all go um watch Orange podcast. It's so for real podcast. Watch my episode. And but during that time, I hadn't. I was still working because it was like, all right, it has to be something good. But just turmoil started to happen on my job. Turmoil. And I'm not going to say all of it wasn't me. Like, I was very unsettled. And I think after I got married, like that feeling I had when I had to request my boss to get 2 weeks off and explain to him like I'm having, and I was like, in my head, I'm like, bro, I'm finna get married and have a honeymoon. Why are you questioning me about vacation days that I have? You know? And so it's stuff like that. Stuff like, it's always, when you're working, everything always gets done when you're not there, but they make it a crime if you're not there. And that started to weigh on me. The lifestyle, the feeling stuck, feeling like, dang, I'm just gonna keep on doing this. Like I just watch people go in there and just they dreams die, but you get comfortable because they pay decent and it's not necessarily a hard job. It's stressful. All my manager peers there hated the job. It's not many people that was there that really liked the job. Like everybody complained. And that was another thing. I was tired of going in there and just complain, gossip. It got draining. And knowing other things that I know now about being overstimulated mentally, um, being in a dopamine deficit state, and being my brain being dysregulated, that definitely played a part in my attitude, along with the discontentment, um, along with just, it just being warfare at the job. And I think God began to move. So, man, next thing I know, I wasn't going to share this, but next thing I know, long story short, man, trials started to happen at the job. Things started to happen where I'm not seeing eye to eye with my boss. I'm not seeing eye to eye with the director. Um, and long story short, I decide, um, well, be honest, long story short, I end up losing that job. And I still had a job, but I, in the time, like the decision making time, the appeals process and all that, I decided that I built my podcast, built the studio, and I decided that I didn't want to go back. As a man, you have to feel, my pops told me this. A man has to feel good about what he does. And I didn't feel good going in there. I no longer felt good going in there every day. So I didn't feel right with it killing how it was making me feel internally. And though I prayed for that job, the first, the only reason I went there was because I was training to have my own business, and we went through a dry period in the business. And I was also burnt out at that time as well. So it was just one day I was looking around, didn't have many people in the gym. And I was just like, bro, I was just finna go to FedEx. Like I got scared and nervous. And I just made a move. And I had always said I would never go there. I would always say I would never work there. And so in that aspect, it was humbling. But I never gave God time to show me what it is I was supposed to be doing. I jumped ahead because I felt like I was gonna be running out of money. I felt like I was gonna need it, and I felt like, I was like, "Man, I need boom, boom, boom." So, I just jumped and did it, and I thought the stability of a job, like, um, with other things going on. And so during this time when I'm transitioning, well, thinking about fighting versus stepping away, and it's just like this big tug of war in my mind, along with my heart, because I'm afraid to step out there and be vulnerable. But long story short, I decided to go where I felt like my purpose and my passion was, which was this podcast that I'm coming to you here today, speaking with, and with coaching. And I do believe that was the best decision that I made. Since I started the podcast, the Lord has opened doors to new relationships, to, I feel like, new confidence levels in me, to new growth in me that I didn't know was there. It has been so natural for me that I'm like, dang, like this is what it feels like to enjoy what you do. This is what it feels like to love work. Now, you talking to an athlete all my life. I loved basketball, so I thought, but I was never natural at basketball. That brings up another thing. One of the things deep in my heart, my whole life was like, I used to pray to God, God, why am I not naturally like good at anything? Why am I not naturally great? I see my friends, and this is still immature and, hurt. I see them, they're naturally good. They don't have to put in extra work. They don't have to, they just have a gift. Most of the time it's returning to basketball, but it could be in anything. Other things I would see like, and Satan started to get in my head like, you don't have any natural gifts. So I was praying to God like, I'm not gifted. Like, why? Where are my gifts, Lord? Show me my gifts. And for the longest, I couldn't see them. Um, so as I started podcasting and interviewing started to come natural, getting guests that I was not necessarily supposed to get, doors being open, replies had the healing that it started to provide for not me, but my wife, my family, the doors that it is open to new relationships. It was only God. And I wouldn't have been this far if I hadn't have made that decision. With that being said, boy, it's a hard decision. Um, Growing up, I struggled with believing that God is provider, with dependence on God in that type of way. I've overall trust in God, yes, but I think that's the main thing with money. I've always wanted to, since I was a little boy, wanted to make money to help my family get out the situation. Since I was a little boy, wanted to make money to help my family get out of the situation they were in. Um, I was raised in a family that didn't have a lot of money, like everybody. Um, there's reasons for that. We made a lot of poor choices as a family. There's a lot of fatherlessness, divorce, um, unforgiveness that I feel like has led to that. But nonetheless, that's my family. I love them. And that's what I seen. So I put that burden on myself to be the one to make it out and then come back and be the millionaire and provide for the family. That's a heavy burden for a young man to carry. And I think that many of us are carrying it. So that obviously poses a problem when I don't feel gifted. Like the one thing that I really thought I could do, which is basketball, I've, essentially failed at. The one thing I felt like the most gifted in, I failed at. So Lord, what am I gonna do? What what do I do? So when podcasting and I'm starting this thing, and the Lord is calling me to a place to where He's giving me a choice. I could stay at the job or I could take a leap of faith. And so I decided with the leap of faith. And it's not easy. I mean, Dave Chappelle said it. He he was talking about millions, but it's hard to it's hard to leave money on the table and come home to your wife and she just be cool with it. You feel me? Like I have an amazing wife who is super supportive. So she riding. But that's not an easy conversation. And the guys, y'all know what I'm talking about. Like the men, this is a conversation for men. Y'all know what I'm talking about. If you've been there, you know the feeling when you have been doing it, like when you've been providing, you've been carrying it to be in a state where you can't right now, or we gonna have to, hey, we can't do everything right now. Gotta kind of change it. That's a tough conversation. It's tough to admit that, all right, that's where we are. That's where we are. I came to a place of like, all right, Lord, like it's getting time, like, you know, savings and stuff. And then my podcast hit a point to where it was doing this and it's now started to come back down. And I'm like, whew, uh-oh. But at the same time, because I stepped away, I was able to take the time I needed to really be able to fulfill my coaching duties. And I got to see my boys through a state run. And before I couldn't do that, I had work. I could not be there like I wanted to be there. Right. And I think that was important. So the biggest thing for me is trusting God, being dependent on God, that He's going to provide for me. And being diligent. I think when it comes to our dreams, things that we're building, for men especially, we have to not be hasty, but be diligent. And that's tough. Being diligent and being consistent when you don't see it, that is real faith, right? Feeling stuck, feeling lost, feeling like I don't know where to go. This thing I got that's supposed to be working ain't really working. That takes faith, that takes grit, that takes real toughness to stick it out. And Willie McKinney will say it takes time, right? Shout out to the over 50 guy. It takes time to master a skill. And that's what we're doing here at Male to Man. That's what I'm doing with coaching. But it's hard though. It's hard not knowing exactly how the next few months are gonna play out. It's hard, right? It's hard not being able to give my wife everything that I want to be able to give her. It's hard. It's hard feeling inadequate as a man. It's hard. Today in society, a man is reduced to what he can provide, right? It's not his personhood. It's not his value by God. It's, if you ask me to step away, can you pay $50,000 a month? Like, can you buy me, princess treatment, Chanel bag, first date? Like, when you constantly see that as a man, it makes you feel it puts so much pressure and makes you feel a type of way if you buy into it. But the reality is a lot of us are going through a lot of men go through these difficult times where you don't know. You have to depend on God as father, as provider, as king, as Lord. Um I had a conversation with my guy Anthony saying, I'm name dropping. Shout out to you saying, he told me about a time and that's another thing. I only was able to meet him because I took the time away from my job. Because he told me essentially that he, at one point in his life, had gone through something very similar, if not almost the same situation, and how he overcame it. And now, the Anthony Sane show stands on his own. He's monetized his podcast to where it has replaced his 9 to 5 plus some. And I believe that's God just telling me to keep going, right? Um, and not just me. I come here today for this pod to share with my brothers, like, you know, when you go through a bump in the road, you lose your job, right? You get demoted. It's, it's not the end. And more guys are going through stuff like that than you think. As soon as that happened, I had two close people to me. One stepped away, one lost his job. And you would never think that would happen, but it's happening to us. So I believe that the Lord is calling a lot of men into the marketplace, but more importantly, he's calling them into dependence on him. And the guy hit me up on Instagram today when I shared part of the story saying that he felt the same. Well, a lot of us are suffering in silence. We have to open up and be vulnerable, or I don't think we're going to get the help or the healing that we need. Um, I think it's important to follow your dreams. I think it's important to follow your dreams even when it gets hard. And right now it's hard for me. I'm sharing this with Male to Man because first of all, this is a podcast where we're vulnerable. I can't come in here and ask everybody else to be vulnerable and not share with y'all what's up. But if we don't do it when it gets hard, then we trap ourselves, right? Israel's journey was supposed to be 2 weeks and it turned into 40 years. If we don't trust God in the season of drought, then we got to wait the 40 years. And the Lord has just done too much for me to continue in my anxiousness. My friend gave me a great word. He said, you anxious, and it's true. The Lord gave me the proverb scripture. Um, it's about being diligent and bringing wealth, but hastiness brings poverty. And I get antsy because I'm like, oh, I need to know the next move, but I don't have to know the next move. I don't. You don't have to know the next move. You just need to take the step that he's asking you to take. And trust that. I get antsy because the podcast is not taking off. Well, podcast takes time. My wife said, listen, you started this in February and you have over 100 subscribers already. And I'm like, you're right. And right now, that's little. It's a lot of folks with million subscribers, but that's good for me, right? I've talked to Forerunner. I've talked to Dr. Trish. I've talked to Willie McKinney. I have networked with the Saints. I have talked to Commissioner Pastor Tara Monger. I've talked to so many other people. I have a big guest coming this weekend. I have a very big guest that is coming in May. So the Lord is showing me what he's doing. It's just about me trusting him. And for my brothers, my sisters out there that's watching this, the Lord, if you just trust the step, right? I think a lot of time we get the Peter and we start, instead of just focusing on Jesus while we're on the water, we start looking off. And that's when we sink. But we just got to get our eyes back on Jesus. And that's very, very hard. Shout out to LA, man. Yeshua. I ain't gonna say me and LA had a long conversation about the name of Jesus, but that's here nor there. When dealing with money insecurity in a place where you don't exactly know where it's coming from, I say trust the Lord. So that's it today for the Male to Man podcast. It's just a personal one. I'm going to hate going back and looking at this, but tune in next week. I'm going to interview my first couple, and you know them. I feel like they're up and coming. I'm not going to say that they're up and coming in Memphis, content creators. You know them, very big, very funny, a very funny young couple that got married. So tune in to the next episode of Male to Man. Follow us. Instagram, I am Curtis Phillips. Facebook, Curtis Phillips. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Male to Man Podcast. Excuse me. Follow us on TikTok at Male to Man Podcast. I got some. We got some big ones coming up, man. And you are now a part of this journey on a very personal way. So I am trusting you and y'all. Trusting y'all to hold it down while we go through this journey. My day ones out there, we're going to revisit this episode and this time when we hit that 100K subscribers mark. I'm going to do a giveaway for everybody. Everybody that comments before October of 2026. I'm doing a giveaway. Don't know what it's going to be yet, but I'm going to do a giveaway. Anyway, that's it. That's it for what we had today. Love y'all. Thank you for tuning in to the Male to Man podcast. Again, I'm your host, Curtis Phillips. We are trying to develop men for the betterment of the world. All right, we're trying to provide fatherhood. We're trying to show a way. We're also trying to be vulnerable and get healing. So this is about healing. This is about showing way. This is about finding purpose. This is about growing in strength, finding your inner warrior. And I feel like we've been doing it. So signing off. I'm out.